The PlayStation 5 event was a pretty mixed affair, and Sony's recent anti-consumer run continued. The event even told us that Demon's Souls was coming to PC, until Sony threw us a curveball and said, nah, you're gonna have to spend hundreds of dollars on our new piece of plastic if you want to play it. I want to talk a bit about Demon's Souls, what this new console means to PC players, given I want to look at it from that perspective, so let's jump in. Hi, Estelden here. If you care about integrity in video games, if you love RPGs like I do, then please consider subscribing to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. Sony. At this point I really do feel like they just enjoy antagonizing the PC audience on purpose. Firstly, they've been artificially delaying all of their first-party PC offerings because doing so would supposedly ruin the value proposition of the PS4. Then we got the awful Horizon Zero Dawn port, which was just embarrassing, and to top this all off, at their event, they reveal a trailer which tells us Demon's Souls is coming to the PC, and then they pull the rug out from us after the fact. No, they said, you will not be getting Demon's Souls, and you'll have to buy a PS5 if you want to play it. I think this really broke the illusion for a lot of people as to what the PS5 actually is. Right now it is really just a graphics machine for people who just don't want to buy a PC. Most of the exclusives that people have been looking forward to, like Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West, God of War 2, they're likely just coming to the PS4. In the former's case, they've confirmed it is. Demon's Souls actually appears to be the odd one out here, and while I'm obviously just speculating, I do think I might know what happened. And just expanding on the context, if you don't know exactly what went down with Demon's Souls, basically at the PlayStation 5 stream, they showed a big clip of Demon's Souls gameplay, and at the end of that, it appeared that this game would actually be coming to the PC, and fans were absolutely rejoicing. Thank fuck we don't have to go out and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars just to play some remake on a console we don't really want to be using, but we've got no choice if we want to play this game. Unfortunately, Sony decided to spoil everything because they came out and said, oh whoops, we've made a big mistake, it's actually going to be a PlayStation exclusive, it was just human error. I'll tell you right now that there is no way in hell a PR misstep that big just happened to come about due to a sheer mistake or one guy making a bit of an error. That's just not the case. If they want to be really broad about it, then alright, maybe they get away with saying it's a mistake, but there is much more to it than just, oh whoops, we accidentally put up that slide, that graphic that said it's coming to other devices like the PC. That to me just seems very odd and untrue. I think initially that Demon's Souls probably was meant to come to all of PS4, PS5 and PC, but Sony have started to worry about their hold on the market and they're absolutely desperate to keep that ticking along. For this reason, they're ensuring they have some games, like Ratchet and Clank and Demon's Souls, that you have to go out and buy a PS5 for, but in the process, they've also decided to fuck over PC players, who are originally going to be getting Demon's Souls if all was to go as planned. Like I said, I am guessing here, but it seems like this may have been an older version of the trailer when this was originally the plan. So it may have been that the decision to make Demon's Souls PS5 only came about in the last year or so. It's yet another big middle finger, not just to the PC audience, but also the gaming audience as a whole. There's a big misconception I hear all the time where supposedly people like myself, we're just salty PC fanboys who are completely jealous that we aren't getting games like Bloodborne or Demon's Souls on the PC, and that is their whole argument. That is absolutely not the case. I mean, that was my 11-year-old self, who could only afford one gaming device, and if a game went somewhere else, like the GameCube or the PS2, I simply wouldn't be able to play it. But that's not the problem anymore, because I can afford it, I'm an adult now. But the value proposition is completely pathetic from Sony. If you're a PC player right now who's interested in pretty much any Sony game, at this point you probably own a PS4, and I very much do. I bought it for Bloodborne all those years ago. So my only value proposition in buying a PS5 is that I get to play a remake of an 11-year-old game in Demon's Souls, and I might get a couple of platformers as well, but that's pretty much it. This is probably going to be the case for a while as well, because this isn't just a bad launch we're talking about. Sony have said that plenty of their games are going to continue to come to the PS4, so I don't really want to hear about those, so I can play them already. So what is the PS5 actually for? Xbox already solved that problem for themselves, and they've acknowledged what I feel is a fair question that I'm asking. Instead of saying to me, well, you'll just need to buy an Xbox Series X if you want to play our games, sorry, they've instead offered value in other places for me as a PC player. Game Pass, I'm able to play Wasteland 3 on the PC for a really good price. Thank you very much. But Sony, they just don't give a shit. They know their console has no value to me. They've probably realised it at the last minute, and that's why they've made Demon's Souls an exclusive, which means most PC players simply won't be touching it for many years. Because who wants to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a simple remake? Not many people, I would imagine. The divide in value is seriously getting wider when it comes to the console manufacturer's attitude when it comes to the PC. Microsoft no longer see it as a competitor, but instead as an opportunity to make more money, and that's absolutely fine. I hate the Microsoft Store, it absolutely sucks, but when the value is there to play something like Wasteland 3, I will deal with it. And I'm sure they'll improve it over time, and the best thing is they gave us a choice. We could still play the game on Steam, and they're probably going to continue to do that with their future titles. If we had the Sony Store and the Sony Pass, then absolutely I'd take advantage of that as well, and I'd play games like the Demon's Souls that are out there. For sure I would. I want to make it really clear as well what I feel Sony's plan is and how this affects different types of consumers, because I'm a PC player. I know there's some people, they're going to go out and buy a PS5 because it's like the next console and that's it. So they see it as amazing, it brings them into the next gen, but I'm talking more from the perspective of someone who already has access to a modern device to play modern games from. That is the perspective that I'm coming from. So Sony's plan is that they want to sell a ton of PS5s so they can push that premium software price onto people. Let's remember that Demon's Souls isn't just PS5 exclusive, it's also more expensive than the average game that we have released now. They then want to ensure that they hold their big market share and that it isn't lost to PC and Xbox, but what they aren't willing to risk is the software sales with current PS4 owners who don't want to upgrade. However, rather than giving people a real choice of where they want to play their games and doing what Xbox are doing by saying, hey, if you want to stay on the Xbox One for now with worse performance, then no dramas at all. Instead, Sony are holding a select few games hostage on the PS5 to make people feel like they have to jump over. They are the only major developer doing this right now. Xbox aren't doing it, Nintendo isn't competing in the same way, and PC just doesn't work like that. This is now just a Sony thing, and it is awfully anti-consumer. Right now, they're relying completely on blind fanboy loyalty, knowing an abundance of rabid fans will desperately buy the PS5 over the next year or so. I say that because people aren't going to be able to get their hands on them right away. In my country, they're already sold out, so this mindset, we must have that PS5. That's going to continue probably for the next 6 to 12 months or so, until all the really big fans have got their hands on one. Obviously, it's not just Demon's Souls that they're making exclusive, so I'm going to clarify that as well. The other PS5 only games that you're going to see are titles like Ratchet and Clank, which have always been associated with the PlayStation brand. Sony don't really care about sales of that game because in the context of AAA, it's cheap to develop, and if it moves PS5s, it's going to be worth it for them. The same can be said for that Little Big Planet spin-off. You'll notice it's mainly cheaply developed titles that they're using to push the PS5 specifically, but the big titles like Horizon are the ones that they aren't willing to make PS5 exclusive. It shows the mindset when it comes to what the PlayStation 5 offers, and they know there isn't any real reason to upgrade aside from performance. I really hope that this doesn't work for Sony. I hope that the news that the PS5 for now isn't really a new gen, but instead it's like a graphical upgrade for the most part. That means that the sales of the console kind of drop after the initial fanboy rush kind of drops off a bit. I know it's wishful thinking, I know there's enough rabid fans out there who don't really care about value and they just want like the newest, latest shiny toy no matter the cost, but I can really only hope here. I'm obviously not talking about everyone, there's plenty of like sensible people who are going to buy a PS5 for their own reasons, that's completely fine, but I'm more talking about the mindset of people who think all this exclusivity stuff, it's fantastic, because it means they get to play something on a PS5 that a PC player can't, and that makes them feel special inside or something. I'm more so talking about those people. Sony's attitude with the gaming public right now is just completely anti-consumer. I've talked about this before, and usually I get the old, oh, they're not a charity, they need to make money. No shit, I know what their aim is, but there's short-term thinking and then there's long-term thinking. And I can tell you now, what they're doing with a game like Demon's Souls is very much thinking in the short term. If you look at a professional sports team, the players make a shitload of money. There's so much money flying around the sport, but there is at least some level of effort made to ensure that the integrity of that actual sport is intact at the end of the day. Obviously, that's a very open example, and I know it's not always the case, but I do think generally speaking that keeping the game integral, keeping that integrity there, is something that those sports try to do at the end of the day. This just isn't the case with gaming right now. Sony do not care about the integrity or the health of gaming in the long term. If they did, they'd put their games on PC. The PC is not a direct competitor right now, and if Sony weren't doing as well as they were, they'd be porting all of their games to PC day one, 100%. Someone on a PlayStation page today was telling me that games like Spider-Man, Horizon, God of War, to name a few, simply wouldn't exist if it weren't for exclusivity. This is just bullshit, because when Sega stopped developing consoles, did they stop making games? No. Are Microsoft stopping their game development now that they are also offering Game Pass to PC? Absolutely not. They've ramped it up. They're making more games than ever, and they've got so much in the pipeline. But people want to believe that Spider-Man wouldn't exist without these shady practices? Give me a fucking break. I'll tell you right now that the best thing for the industry would be the PS5 underperforming. A world where PC, Sony and Microsoft have a roughly equal share of the gaming audience would mean that just about everything would come to PC and a lot of the nonsense that plagues the industry would just stop. Sony would no longer be able to try and lure PC players over to their console, because they would actually need the revenue from those PC players if they were going to make a good return on investment for their games. And that would mean day one, quality ports, whether it be on Steam or some sort of Sony store, I really wouldn't care just as long as we got them. It would also mean that they couldn't get complacent and would actually likely make more games than they're making now, and they also wouldn't be able to allow mediocrity to fester. The Last of Us 2 felt like a complacent release if you ask me. If Sony was struggling in the market, there is no way they would have allowed Neil Druckmann to ruin the series for many fans. We're now getting Horizon 2, God of War 2, and to be honest, there's not a lot of experimentation coming from Sony, it seems. It's more likely that they're trying to cash in on the PS4's success rather than take that step further and to continue to develop it. I'll say from a personal point of view that I do honestly think a lot of Sony's exclusives are overrated. I think they rely on a lot of samey games, always open world, always pretty similar, and it's really only Bloodborne I felt I had to play because that one felt a bit more unique. I've put off playing a lot of the other titles because I didn't see much that I just couldn't get from a PC alternative of a similar style. Most PC players I talk to are looking at the PS5 and they're actually giving it a bit of a shrug. And gaming loses in that instance, because games like the Demon's Souls remake, they get made, they don't sell as well as hoped, and if it does eventually get ported to PC, like I think it will, a lot of that initial hype will be gone and people just won't bother with it at all. I'll say again that I'd never tell anyone what to do with their money, so if you're planning to buy a PS5, you've got it on pre-order, absolutely fantastic, I don't really care. But if you're on the fence whatsoever, I'll say this, please don't buy one. This is a bit of an experiment for the console developers to see if people will spend a whole bunch of money for the new shiny experience, all for the graphics and not really games. And if Sony have another run-out success, us PC players are going to continue to be shortchanged, since Sony will continue to think exclusivity works, and they can twist our arm into spending potentially thousands of dollars to play even a small chunk of their game library thanks to the console purchase. I want to force them to be humble, to realize that exclusivity won't work long term. It doesn't build brand loyalty anymore because it's not an industry standard, and they're only going to slowly build resentment with gamers on other platforms who are getting great deals like Game Pass, along with the PC store landscape, which sees competing storefronts like Steam, GOG, and Epic. Obviously, I can't stand Epic Games either, who are also playing the exclusivity game, but I really don't think it's going to work for them either. It's a short-term practice, it's quickly becoming outdated, and Sony are desperately trying to hold on to it, so they can make a ton of money in the short term, without worrying about the consequences to the industry and their brand down the line. You can tell me I've got no idea that Sony and their big marketing team, they've got far more knowledge than me on the subject, and you'd be absolutely right. But I've been playing games for a long time in a pretty unbiased fashion, and I read a lot of opinions on gaming from all walks of the internet. What I can tell you is that the tide is turning. People who were completely pro-Sony only a few weeks ago, they're feeling a little bit off at the moment at the prospect of the PS5. There's plenty of people questioning the need to get one when they continue to play their exclusives on the PS4 and instead upgrade to a PC for Game Pass, for instance. For me, Demon's Souls Remake is simply the perfect example of Sony's direction over the next few years. Low-risk games that try and force people over to the new console despite being overpriced and not offering a unique experience. If people realise that and hold off, Sony will have to change their ways, and finally, they may treat the PC audience with some respect and finally give people a choice of where to play their games. I might have bought a PS4 for Bloodborne, but this is the last straw. The PS5 is the last straw. I'm not going to buy one while Sony continue down this road. I can only hope that other PC players, other people who are considering buying one, do the same and realise that we've got to use our wallets here and we have to hold back if anything is going to change. So we'll see what happens. I'm not holding my breath, but the whole reason that I do this channel, the whole reason I make these videos, is because I want gaming to just have more integrity and to be a better industry down the line. So that's what I'm hoping for, and we'll just have to see if the tide changes in the future. So right now, I'd rather support devs, even publishers, who are doing better things. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much, and bye-bye.